Hello, hi, my name is Ollie Kaneem, but on the register thing it says Krishna because it's my birth name. Sorry about the sun. I'm a senior, in elementary ed. English is my major, and hi, it's great to meet you. I'm really looking forward to working together. I'm walking home right now, so a little bit about my math background. I never considered myself someone who's good at math. I know growth mindset, it's a learning process for sure, but for a long period of my life, I always kind of thought oh yeah, math is just something I'm bad at. And I definitely have adopted more of a growth mindset as I kind of progressed through my math learning, through my education and everything. I had someone once tell me that they knew someone who was a double major, math and English, and they wrote papers like mathematical equations, and they solved mathematical equations as if they were English logic problems or whatever. And I don't know why, but that really stood out to me, and I was really thinking about that in regards to math and in regards to math education, just because for the longest time I just never knew that there was a way to look at mathematical problems as something creative, as something artistic. And so that's definitely something I'm trying to have more of an appreciation for. I definitely think it's worked to some regard. I definitely have a more artistic respect for mathematics now than I did before. So moments from my mathematical past. I was in remedial math classes for most of my life. Like I said, it was a subject I struggled with a lot. I took pre-algebra in the beginning of high school. Before that, okay, let me back up. In grade school, the classes were separated between basically the kids that were better at math and the kids that were worse at math. In my grade, I went to a fairly large grade school, so I was put in the kids that were worse at math. And I had pre-algebra in 8th grade, and it was one of the first times that I really remember thinking about myself as someone who can perform mathematically. Because before that, I didn't have too many big math memories before that. I guess I remember in 6th grade learning about basic algebra in regards to, it was a scale. We learned it was a scale that tips one way or the other, and it's all about balancing the scale and finding the missing piece that will balance the scale or whatever. And I thought that was really cool, and I really liked that. And that was the first time I ever really liked some instruction I got from math, and I feel like a topic was presented to me in a way that really made sense. So I guess that's where I'll start my math timeline. And then 8th grade, I get put in pre-algebra, which wasn't that difficult. I don't remember it being something that was really difficult. And then when I went to high school, I didn't do too hot on the assessment, the pre-test, the placement tests for mathematics. So I was in pre-algebra again freshman year. And similarly, I felt like it was always fairly simple for me. I definitely got more of a handle of it in high school. I was one of the people that was better at the stuff in my class. And I really liked algebra. Algebra made a lot of sense to me because it was very logical and balanced. And I liked that. I liked that there were multiple ways of solving one problem. There were different kind of avenues or whatever, and I liked kind of exploring around with those and finding more efficient ways of solving problems. So I really liked algebra. Then I took geometry sophomore year. Didn't really like that as much. Geometry to me was more difficult. But so geometry, and then I went on to algebra 2 junior year, and then I don't think I took a math class senior year. But yeah, so my math timeline isn't super long or varied or anything like that, but it's definitely a subject that I've always found very fascinating, almost very elusive, because I feel like math is for so many people considered the worst subject or the least favorite subject. Even nowadays, when I student teach, I can tell that there is definitely certain attitudes towards math. It's definitely a science that's considered very, or it's a subject that's considered very bland and difficult and just not fun. And so I think maybe the reason I've become more interested in it is because I'm starting to think more now of like what I can really do to make math a subject that is more interesting to students and make math a subject that isn't something that people dislike doing. Oh, there's some people on their porch over there. But so yeah, that's basically my math timeline, more or less. In college, I took college algebra, which was an online class, and everyone complained about the online class, but I didn't mind it that much. I thought college algebra was relatively simple. Trigonometry, on the other hand, was very difficult. It was the subject that really messed me up. It was very, I didn't like how there were so many different types of problems, and we only really learned one formula to solve each problem. I felt like I only knew one way to solve each problem, and it kind of went back to that like memorization. Like I felt like I was spending most of my time just memorizing all the subjects. So I didn't like that too much. And then that brings me here to this class. I'm really looking forward to learning more about like how to write good math instruction. Yeah. I definitely believe that math is a subject that every student can benefit from learning from. I thought that the video we talked about in class today was very, or not the video, the podcast I thought was very interesting, because I've never really heard the arguments for and against more or less math education presented so eloquently. And it really made me think a lot about where I would stand on that. I definitely think I agree most with the third guest who was talking about how math should be taught more as something that is artistic and creative and specifically not just for jobs. Because so much of that, inevitable question that comes up in every math class of when would we ever need to know this, a lot of that goes back to, oh, you might need to know this someday if you're like an aquatic engineer or something, but like most kids aren't aspiring to be aquatic engineers, and if that's the only motivation they're supposed to have for needing to learn this material, then I think that, it's no wonder why a lot of them would struggle. I think that kind of information should be presented in a much more roundabout way. It should be something that like you should at least find a practical situation where that would be that should be known for like an everyday person, right? So I don't know. I definitely think the level of math classes taught could be decreased. I definitely don't think everyone should be required to take classes like calculus, but I do think that there is benefit to learning these kinds of things. I definitely think that there is like a value to understanding those kinds of larger concepts. That's kind of where I stand on that, and kind of where I stand on whether or not math should be like taught to children or taught in a different way to children. I think math classes should be more geared towards practical application, and I kind of think within that certain classes could be reworked more or less. One thing that was brought up in class that I thought was very well put was that this is how I believe every math teacher should be able to teach every math teacher in elementary school should be able to teach up to a fifth grade level. Like at least, I feel like even the kindergarten math teacher should be able to understand the material up to the fifth grade level, and understand it well, not just to the point of being able to look things up, because I feel like understanding where the students are going to be going with the material will make you a lot better at understanding why the material needs to be taught and how to teach it. If you know what they're going to need to know next year, it makes it easier for you to teach what they're learning now. And I think having that understanding can really help you write your curriculum or write your lessons in a way that prepares them for the future of their own education. And again, I definitely feel that knowing your students' math, sorry, so much backlighting. Again, I think that knowing your students' math backgrounds could definitely help in understanding and differentiating the material so that every student can succeed. I think knowing any student's background is something that's important to being able to teach a classroom thoroughly, just to make sure you're not teaching material the students already know or teaching material the students are already proficient in. You definitely want to focus on things that that the students, you know, struggling with, or that the students haven't learned in the past but maybe should have. So I think handing out a math-related pretest at the beginning of every math class could be a very useful tool to understanding kind of where your students, you know, where they've been, where they're going, kind of thing. I think just having eyes in both directions, looking at the future of their education, but also the past of their education, can really make sure that you're writing the best kind of material that you can, that you're teaching the material in the best way for your students. And all in all, I understand that I have my own misconceptions about math. I definitely don't claim to be an expert on the subject, but it's something that I'm very interested in learning more of. I think math is very crucial to all subjects matters. I think math, I liked that, I think the podcast said something about math being like one of the greatest accomplishments of mankind, or discoveries of mankind. And I really like that. I really like the idea that math is something that humans have it's like we're making sense of like the world around us, like using numbers. And I thought that's like, I don't know, there's something that's so like inherently beautiful about mathematics, and inherently beautiful about teaching math, and about understanding the world around you through math. And I feel like teaching math is in a way teaching a new type of understanding of surroundings to children. So I feel like in that regard, math is a very important subject that I really look forward to learning more about how to teach. So yeah. My name's Ollie, again, Ollie Khanim, and yeah, I look forward to the class. Okay, bye-bye.